one day I did not go. Some other guy that I know went there.
Honestly, man, like years and years and years of like not very much success.
Yeah, if I think people will go like 5 miles, then I'll go 10 to make sure that I'm just...
Are they trying to find areas where there's lots of food? Like, what are you looking for when you're trying to find like a blacktail shed?
They don't winter as far as other species per se.
Hey everyone out there, thank you so much for tuning in to another Addicted Hunting podcast. I'm sick, dude. I'm sick from these freaking shows, so I'm gonna sound a little scruffy on this podcast for sure. Like, it's show season. We always like to call it the show scum comes out, and we all get sick at the shows. So.
You want to know what it's like at a show? Is just have everybody come up to you and cough in your mouth like 500 times, and that's pretty much a mimic of the show.
People love to invade your space too. It's like these guys come up to you and they're like talking, and I'm like, bro, this guy's breath smells like absolute dog crap. I'm like, can you just take 2 steps back for me, please?
Not to mention you're shaking hands with every person you meet.
Yeah.
Just passing all the germs for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But while I was at the show, my buddy Zach, who's our guest in here tonight, was sending me videos out freaking shed hunting. So it made me think, like, you know what? We haven't done a shed hunting podcast.
Yeah, we were chomping at the bit, too.
And it's about that time of year where all of us are thinking about shed hunting, or at least already been a couple times or whatever. And so I'm excited. So introduce yourself.
Okay, well, my name is Zach Sperling, and I met Marlon probably about 8 years ago. I run an electrical company. It's called Elevate Northwest Electric, and I think I got referred to you by somebody online when you were looking for electrical, and
he walked into my house and he saw these shed antlers, and then we became instant friends.
Yeah. Yep, pretty much.
Funny how that happens, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah, and so I would consider, and I'll embarrass Zach a little bit on this podcast, but I would consider him definitely one of the like better shed hunters I've ever met, and I think a lot of it comes down to like dedication to the sport of shed hunting. Like, people always try to tell me like, oh, I don't find any sheds. I'm like, oh, cool. When was the last time you went? And they're like, oh, I went one time and I hiked like 5 miles. I never found one. And I'm like, that ain't it, bro.
Yeah,
like
100%. Yeah.
And I think, you know, that's one of the big things I want to talk about as we get into this podcast is just how much work it takes to really find sheds and how much work you have to put into it to be a successful shed hunter. But before we do that, I think what I want to talk about is like, why shed hunting and why have you become so obsessed with it? And you both can answer it, you know, because I think you went through a phase where you were obsessed and then got over it and then have become more obsessed.
I was originally not at all into shed hunting. I never did it, and I actually got linked up with my buddy Ron, and he was like, dude, have you ever gone out shed hunting? I'm like, oh, I'd pick them up on my ranch, but like I wouldn't go out deliberately to go find them. So, but then he introduced me to it in the same area, coincidentally, that you like to shed hunt. And, I became a full-blown addict. As soon as I did it, it's like, I'm like, okay, I can see it.
And what do you think it is? Because I always try to explain to people, like, what the, you know, it's people, oh, you know, Cameron always makes fun of me. He's always like, oh, freaking shed hunting, idiot, you could be springer fishing or whatever it is, you know, and it's like, it's hard to describe, like, why it's so addicting. I don't know. Like, it's like, why do you think it is for you, Zach? Like, what was that moment that made you be like, dude, this is, like, the best?
I think it's the idea that, you know, you never know when you're going to find something. It can be, like you said, it could be 25 miles, it could be 1 mile, and you never know what you're going to find. And, you know, each deer is super unique. So nothing's ever the same when it comes to it. You know, they're all different characteristics to them. And
so that's, I'm glad you said that, because for me, that's what it is. Like, you know, like this shed.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, in all my years of shed hunting, I never found something like this. Right. And it was always like on a bucket list of mine, like, I want to find something weird, you know, something cool. And I think that's, you know, for me, it's like every time you go out, like every deer I have, I mean, you could see all these piles of sheds, they're all different.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just cool.
It's, the mystery. So, like, kind of like a little background of different deer winter, not where they normally are at. So you have the probability of finding a deer that has never been seen.
Yeah, he's coming down out of the snow.
And there's been so many big sheds that I've found of a deer that's probably never been seen by a person ever, that I'm just like, where did this thing come from? And that's what's really exciting for me. It's like something crazy that you never see, that you probably never see on a game cam, never see in person. Some mountain buck came down, or elk or anything, and you get to hold his sheds. Like, you get to pick it up, and then you find the one, and then you dedicate however long. Like, I've spent weeks.
Well, so what's funny is, like, my wife, you know, and your wife's a little different because she's also addicted to it. She also likes to
Yes.
go, right? Like she
Yeah.
loves. But my wife is more like, why? You have literally piles of these things all over our house, in our barn, in our attic.
Yep.
Like, what are you even doing with all these? I'm like, well, yeah, but I only keep the ones that are cool. It's like I keep
For
all
sure.
of them. And so it's like, why do you think it is? What makes you like want to keep going out year after year after year, even though like you probably have a lot more piles than I do sitting at your house. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
have been told that I need to get rid of some, but I doubt it'll probably ever happen. I tried to sell a few the other day, and that was kind of it. I was like, I don't know. That's all I can do right now.
I can't do anymore.
But yeah, I don't know. The appeal is, like I said, the uniqueness is definitely part of it. The fact that you just, and then like you touched on, as far as like when you do get a buck on like a camera and you can obsess over it and try
trying
to
to find
locate it.
them. Yeah.
That's definitely a good draw. And I think just in general, I mean, I've walked, been out on a hike and like, so you're 12 miles and you haven't found, and then all it takes is like turning a corner and finding one. It's like,
Yep.
my day's made. I can keep going another 12 miles. It doesn't like, it's the spark after you find one, and the like, the I don't know how you would say it, but
It's a dopamine shot.
it
no
really
question.
is. Like it's like a high essentially. Like
I
when
always
you
call it
find
it's an
one,
adult Easter egg hunt.
It really is, and yeah, it definitely shoots some adrenaline the moment you find one, and it makes you immediately think there's more close.
Yep.
And you got to go look, and then you're 12 miles in further.
Yeah,
and
I know. Yeah, it just takes the one. And you're like,
it's got to be close, and then
There's
you're
been so many times that I'm
circling
like
forever.
hiking in and it'll be like exhausted, and I'll find the one, and I'm all of a sudden my tired and fatigue
Yeah, you
just
forgot all
disappears,
about it.
and I'm just like, I'm good for another
Not hungry
just distance
anymore,
I just
doesn't
walked.
matter.
So yeah, it is.
There is absolutely no doubt about that. So I think what we should do to kind of start is talk about like a quick personal story from each of us of like when your first shed hunting experience is, and like if that was the one that like hooked you for life. So go first, John.
Okay. So like I said, I never got into it. My buddy Ron got me into it, and he's like, dude, you got to come to this wintering range with me. And he had piles of sheds. He actually had some record sheds that he ended up selling. And they're like some of the number one, and it was number two or something like that, blacktail set. Wow. That he ended up setting. It was huge. And so he like took me to some spots he had permission to go on. Well, what really hooked me is we went to this feeding area, and there was this double drop time chocolate brown blacktail. I mean, it was still to this day the biggest blacktail I've ever seen on the hoof. I mean, the thing was massive. And he was at the feeding piles, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm coming back here every day until I find those sets of sheds because I want those. Well, the one day I did not go, some other guy that I know went there, and he'd never been shed hunting either, picked up one side of it, sent out a picture to everyone. I'm like, that's the buck, no way. And then I was kind of like, oh. So then I dedicated a while to try and match it up and just couldn't. But that's kind of like the one memory that stands out is remembering watching that buck run away from me at the feeding station. I'm like, oh, I'm coming back here. I got to get those. They were so cool.
For sure. And I think, like for me, like what happened was, I think when I take friends, I'll say this before, like I've taken a few buddies, and if they don't find like success like right away, it's hard for them because they're like, what the heck? I just hiked all those miles and worked all that thing and I didn't find anything. And for me, the first time a buddy ever took me, we found like 25 sheds. And so I was like immediately hooked. I was like, dude, this is epic. Like, and then of course the next like 3 times we went, we found like 1 or 2, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But that first go of that first shot of adrenaline of like finding all those sheds and seeing how cool it was, like I was like, I'm doing this every free weekend that I can.
Yeah.
It took a lot of my winter steelheading away for sure because I just loved shed hunting.
Yeah, I always tell my buddy like, because he's like, why can't we always have days like this? I'm like, well, there's got to be some days for there to be good days. They can't all be good days. You're gonna hike miles and miles and not find it. But that's why it's so much more rewarding once you do get into them and you do find a pocket and things like that. So.
For sure. Do you remember your first time like going out and doing it?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a family where my dad always hunted. He always hunted deer. He always hunted elk. And I can remember, when you're younger, you always want to go with them. And, I never understood it, obviously, as an 8-year-old when the dad's like, no, you got to stay back, bud. Me and my buddy's going, and you're just too young. You're too little. You can't keep up kind of thing. But I can remember when I finally got to actually go out, and it was probably like when I was like 10. and we had done hunting that season, and then we went shed hunting. I think it was like April. It was later in the year, but my whole family went, and I think my brother, like my younger brother too, like barely walking out there, found a shed, and I was just like, God, how the heck? How come I can't find one? And I think that time I finally found one, like one of my first ones, and then as I was walking back to the truck, I found one of the biggest, still to this day, deadheads I've ever seen. It was in Washington, so I couldn't keep it, but it was just the biggest, nicest buck I've ever, walked around into. And I think after that time of finding that, it was just like enough to be like,
Yeah.
holy crap,
I
like
gotta
I could
do
just
this all the
find this. And then I was trapped to kind of the battle of being too young to like be able to drive. So then you're at the mercy of your parents and when they want to take you and when it works for their schedule, which is like usually never. So, you get out once or twice a year. So I think once I turned 18 and I kind of got my license, had my own, vehicle, could go where I wanted, that's when I really got into it a lot more, and I could develop a lot more time into, not having to check in, just be like, yeah, I'm going. I'm going to go over here and go check it out. And
so do you think that shed hunting, and this is for both of you guys, do you think that shed hunting made you guys better hunters?
I like to think so. I don't know how it could hurt. I mean, you're definitely picking up on, signs, tendencies, areas. A lot of the times you can pattern, at least in certain areas I hunt, there's specific areas where, like you're talking, where they're coming down from 6,000 feet and they're going to get pushed down from the snow. But there's other areas where it's only 2,000 feet in general that they're living in.
It's their residential area.
Right. And a lot of those bucks, you can develop kind of a history with. You can see them, you can watch them, and it's cool to get to really hone in and try to go after specific ones.
Yeah, so if you're trying to find a specific buck, I always like to tell people too, like, it's taught me like where deer like to move. You're gonna find that they're gonna move in the same kind of ridges and same kind of draws during the hunting season or during the fall that they're still gonna ride those ridges and ride those areas.
Yeah.
So it's taught me a lot more of like where deer movement is, because you have to know where they're moving to find their sheds.
Yeah, and just sign too. I mean, picking up on track and bedding and stuff. I mean, that's a lot of what you're looking for, obviously.
It's helped me age a lot. I've found a lot of sets that are the same deer year after year where I'm like, I've misaged a lot of the time.
Oh, helping you figure out how old the deer are when you're finding them.
Because if you're able to do it, and a lot of the times, depending on the area you're in, but a lot of guys I know, they'll pick up the same deer's sheds around in the same area. If you do a 500-yard circle, that buck will drop in almost to the day. A lot of the time.
As long as you can get there in the snow.
If you can get there, yeah, that buck will be dropping in the same area consistently if he's still alive. Yep. And so I know several guys that they will have years and years of the same deer that drop in the same area. And you can it's kind of cool to see.
That's one of the coolest things, I think, too, as far as like that goes. I only have a few like that, but it's so cool to see.
I have a buddy that
4
lives
years
on the
off
coast that he's got the same elk like 6 years in a row because it just sheds in his backyard like every year.
That's a whole other thing that's super unique too, to be able to be like, yeah, no, I have this 4 years off this deer. And
that's crazy.
Because,
that's really cool.
Like for my hunting thing, like there's been deer that I've gone after, and then I realize like I'll get a gauge because it's one thing to field judge, and then another thing to hold the antlers and measure them out. Mm-hmm. And then, like, you can get a gauge if you get antlers consistently of the same deer. Like, you can kind of gauge where he's at in his lifespan.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
And that right there, just helping me field judge for hunting has been, like, night and day difference.
So because of where we live here in the Pacific Northwest, we're primarily looking for, like, blacktail sheds, Rocky Mountain elk sheds, we're looking for
rosy sheds.
Yeah. We're looking for mule deer sheds, but that's about the extent of it. We don't have a lot of whitetail here. Some of our, if we go further east, we might have some luck at finding those, but we're mainly focusing on those animals. So that's what we're going to be talking about during most of this podcast, because I don't have any experience shed hunting for whitetail.
I don't have a single whitetail shed, unfortunately.
Hopefully
I don't have any moose experience. I don't have any of that type of stuff. Hopefully someday.
Yeah.
But we're going to focus on that. So I think we should start with blacktail, because that's kind of what I started with. That's what I did the most of growing up, was trying to figure out blacktail. And I remember honestly, man, years and years and years of not very much success.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot of it.
Not finding very many.
Dude, it takes an eye.
Well, and I think also, where I see most people struggle, and this is why I wanted to bring Zach in here, and he doesn't have to give away any secrets or anything, because a lot of shed hunting is very secretive, and people have their spots and their areas and stuff. but more like helping people figure out like where and why.
Yeah.
You know, because for years I was just in these areas where I had no shot.
Right.
Like I wasn't going to find
You were
any sheds.
automatically in the wrong spot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so like I think if we could give people a little advice out there of kind of like where you look and why.
Got it.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So talk about that.
So, I mean, I would say, I mean, this year's kind of a weird year because the snow is non-existent. So this is
Going to be tough.
a strange year for shed hunting just because usually the snow is a very good gauge of where those deer are going to be hanging out. You know, they don't want to live in 3 or 4 feet of snow. They're going to push down to where they can actually feed and, you know, find the ground a little bit. So that's a good tell sign wherever the snow line's at, you know, in February to March, that's likely where the deer are going to be hanging out. Not always, but you know, that's a good start for anyone that hasn't shed hunted. I wouldn't be looking, you know, down by the river bottom or, you know, something like that, depending on the area.
Yep.
You're going to want to try to go up, and those animals are typically going to want to be as high as they can go. And that's why the snow is going to be your good judge as far as probably a good option to start there, and then from there you can, you know, tracking in snow is kind of nice too. If you get pockets of it, it's pretty easy to see where they're working through a lot more than, you know, some of the pine ground and stuff's a little bit difficult to tell where they're going. But when you get snow tracks, they usually look like highways as everything's moving through. So
Yeah.
snow line's definitely one thing to keep in mind and try to get you going.
Exactly. Another good tip that a buddy told me years ago, and I exhausted it as much as I possibly could, is looking for, you know, a lot of states designate like wintering areas, like wintering wildlife areas where these animals are most likely migrating to. Washington and Oregon both have wintering areas, and a lot of times you can't go in there until a certain time.
Yeah.
But some of them, they don't have dates. Like you can go in there whenever you want. So a buddy years ago told me like, hey, go online. You can find all the wintering areas. They post every single one of them in every single state. And those are good places to start because a lot of times those deer are migrating into those areas and they're doing it year after year after year after year.
Consistently.
So you're going to get consistent deer in there. Whereas at first, when I first started, I was like, oh yeah, I'll just rip up Targo on the Washougal unit and I'll find sheds.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
no, you won't. Like
Right.
you might find a couple, and over years I did find a few, but man, it is tough.
Well, with that, and I mean, even when you're up and stuff like that, I mean, the vegetation's a hard thing as far as, you know, shed hunting.
Trying to find a brown shed.
Yeah, you're a good chance you're going to kick it before you see it, and some
Yeah.
of the stuff we end up walking through.
For sure. So I think wintering areas is a good spot. And John talked about this. One of those areas he was talking about was a feeding area. You know,
Yeah.
Washington and Oregon feed some of these animals in the wintertime to keep
Right.
them off of agriculture.
Yeah, and it brings them down and it keeps them going back, and then they're, you know, they're passing that on to their youngins, and then they're doing the same thing, you know, as far as coming back to the same areas.
Yeah.
And those areas tend to get really popular. You know, like there'll be areas like in Oregon and Washington where we have like May 1 or April 1 openers, and those areas tend to get pretty hammered. But I can tell you from experience, like, don't let it intimidate you. Because
Yeah.
I've still had some of my best days in these like crazy opener areas because that's where the deer are at.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've had it that way, and I've kind of always tried my best to push like just further than everyone.
Yep.
As far as like, if I think people will go like 5 miles, then I'll go 10 to make sure that I'm just the next little bit away.
Yep.
So I've always tried to just keep away from people as far as if I can get further and I can get around it. And a lot of times with the snow too, like sometimes you're hiking through 3 feet of snow, but you know, you make it to the sunny side and it's bare. It's wide open, and that's
Yep.
where they're hanging out and feeding and bedding and stuff like that.
So talk about that, because like, you know, one of the things another buddy always taught me as I was trying to learn this was like making sure that you focus on that south facing sides where the sun is hitting most throughout the day.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely for somebody that's starting out, that's a great way to start. And I think, you know, I'm sure you're in the same boat. Like that's that's not like a hard rule, but it's definitely a good place
I'll
to get going.
pound south faces long before I do anything else.
Right, and then I kind of do the same thing. I'll start there, see if there's anything that's, you know, blatantly obvious in the open, and then from there you kind of start working the rest and picking around it.
And like kind of like on the opposite end of the spectrum, what Zach said, snow lines are like good place to start, but they're a really good place later on in the year to return to, because there's been a lot of times where these deer, like, you can't really determine when these deer are going to shed. I mean, you can get a good guess, but it varies year to year. And I've had a lot of years where I'll go into an area and hit the snow line, Well, that snow line had moved down from where they shedded, so their antlers have been buried.
Yeah.
And so I'll go hit an area and I won't find a lot of it, but I always make it a good rule to go back.
Go a little higher.
I'll hit a same spot at least a couple times because they're in there somewhere, and a lot of times you'll miss them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't help but miss them. I mean, I've been mind blown so many times. So, you walk through the same general area and you're like, that's like a 10-year-old horn that's laying there. How in the
Oh yeah.
have I walked by
Me and
this
Marlon-
so many times?
I was sending him pictures and be like, dude, we walked right past this shed
Yeah.
like 10 times.
Yep.
Right.
It just happens, dude.
Some of
Yeah.
them, it's like, I had to have like almost stepped over this. Like,
I mean, one little tiny hump can hide things pretty easily.
yeah, it is wild because, even in the opens, you'll look and you're like, oh, there's nothing. And then you get a little closer and you're like, what? This is sitting right here, and you 10 feet back,
Yep.
you couldn't see it at all. So,
Yeah, that is crazy how that. So with blacktail, are you finding that there's specific like terrain that they like to hang out and shed in when they're wintering? Like, do you find a lot of sheds in like deep dark timber, or is it more open faces? Do they like ridges? Are they trying to find areas where there's lots of food? Like, what are you looking for when you're trying to find like a blacktail shed? And in the areas that we're going, because a lot of times, like again, like I know I'll give you an example, like my house, I live by Battleground Lake.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that there's insane amounts of bucks that live in Battleground Lake and all the whole surrounding area, right?
Yeah.
But I've shedded it in there like tons and maybe found 10.
right.
And no one else is in there shed hunting. It's just because it's just like you said, the vegetation and the thickness. Like the only way to really do it effectively is you'd have to get in there and just grid search every inch of it.
Yeah, you'd pretty much have to use your Onyx and just really, really tight line track yourself and be going back and forth,
Exactly.
and forth. And it's hard to do, and it's hard to stay consistent on that too. Like that's one of the tougher things. I mean, I'll grid, but I have a hard time when it's like what you're saying, where it's like, I know they're in here, but I'm just going to do zigzags and back and forth until I find it. And it can be maddening trying to
I
do
can't
that
do
and
it.
stay on the line. And
I can't
I
do
can't do
it.
it. I don't have the patience for it
Yeah.
either. I'm always like, oh, what's on the next ridge?
Yeah,
or
I have a
whatever.
tough time with it. I mean, again, if there was something that was like, I just saw a drop buck one horn and he was hanging right here, I could probably do it and try to push and spend
So
some
where
time.
I've done it is exactly what you said. So like you find one.
Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, let me check around in here because there's probably going to be other bucks. And that's how I've had some of my best days because, if you just go around every single bush
Yeah.
and you really look, like chances are you're going to find more.
Well, in that time of year, they always seem to be kind of bachelored up as far as like, there's not a lot of like just single bucks. I mean, there is obviously, but majority of what I see, they're hanging together.
They're with each other.
Yeah. So they don't always shed at the exact same time, but the fact that they're in groups and in numbers together,
Yeah.
they tend to get stuck, pocketed up together, and within a general area, you can usually pick up multiple animals in not a very far distance.
I always try to look for areas where I know there's going to just be food accessible to them, even if there's a couple feet of snow or whatever. So I'm, like I know they love manzanita bushes in a lot of the areas I like to go. So I'm always looking for like big patches of those on south facing slopes, on specific ridges at specific elevations.
Yeah.
And then just focusing, and you just learn it over years of like where these things like to hang out and shed their antlers. But looking for a food source, I think, is huge.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely something they have to have, and
Yeah.
that's on their mind the whole time too. So, I mean,
Yeah. I usually just like to find any fresh sign. I'll just start going around. If it's like a year like this year where it's just like not a lot of snow, I'm just literally, my face is in the ground. Trying to find fresh deer poop, fresh tracks, anything with some decent numbers. Because like you said, a lot of the stuff, everything's pretty much congregated together.
Yeah.
You'll know, you'll find an area you'll know there's
it's
fresh
hard,
deer
I was
in
gonna
there.
say, it's hard to miss when you do come into a spot where there's been 12 bucks that are hanging out together.
Yeah.
It looks like 12 bucks were hanging out
And
together.
that's-
So what do you think about, like, because I've gone, there's a lot of times when I go to areas, and me and you went to one where we, you'll remember it, I'll tell you about it after this, but where I see, like, during the time they're supposed to be shedding, like, I see an insane amount of deer, like, tons of sign, like, tons of tracks, but I don't find very many sheds in there. Like, I found a couple here and there, but it's never, like, that good, and I'm always like, where the heck are these things shedding?
Yeah.
Because I know they're here at the right time, but I'm not finding their sheds. What do you think happens there? Like, maybe I'm seeing them just before they shed, and then they're going up higher or something? Like,
That, or, I mean, I've had it where I've done something similar where it's like, I know they're here, I know they're here, I know they're here, and I've done loops and loops and loops, and then I'm like, well, why don't I just go check over here? I haven't been over here, and then it's like, it's not where I thought they'd be. sometimes, like where
Okay.
you get stuck on thinking this is where they gotta be, and so you're just pounding that area. And then there's times where I've been like, I'm just gonna go check over here.
They were one ridge over.
Maybe they went over this way, and
Yeah.
and then you're like, oh, and then that's a lot of the times where I've found like generational bucks, like he was saying, where it's like, oh, here's a horn. Then you find another one, you're like, well, this is the year before of him, and you've kind of found their little spot
Yeah.
where you were just off where they were. You were close, but you're going where you think they should be, and it's
Makes
not
sense.
always the case that it's like they're going to be standing and shedding right where you want them to.
Yeah.
It's usually in some stuff around the corner.
Yeah, exactly.
I found out too is with any shed hunting, these animals move a lot more than you think they do. Like when they're like, for your example that you just gave, you just got to cover ground. Like you got, it's kind of just like a guessing game at that point. I mean, you can have a good guess, like a good estimate of where they're going, but like when you're not finding them, you just got to kind of like go to the next ridge, then go back to the ridge you were on, go to the opposite ridge, and just keep pounding the area. And you think of it as like a circle. I always think to myself like 500-yard circle, look in that, then expand it, 1,000-yard circle, look around that. I mean, in one of those expansions of the circles, you're gonna hit them.
Right.
You just gotta keep at it and cover ground.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think I do the same as far as the cover ground's a big one. I mean, everyone that hikes with me usually is pissed. Not you so much, but if I bring my dad or my brother or my wife Britt, she's like, "Where are we going? Why are we running? Like, we're 8 miles in." It's like, well, I don't know. We got to keep going, And I'll just push and push, like you're saying, until I get into something. And then a lot of times I'll do what you're saying, where I'll still circle back through all this stuff. I didn't find anything, but I'll take a slightly different route to get there, kind of thing.
That's what I love
Each
to do.
time.
I love to be like, all right, I'm going to zigzag 14 miles, so then I got 14 miles of new ground back.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I like to hunt. I like to cover ground. I like to find them. I'll pocket it. If I find one, I'll stop and look around in that area and try to spend some time. But I definitely am on the same page as you when it comes to just covering as much ground. And again, I feel like that's what.
And that goes for not just blacktail. I mean, that's every.
Yeah. Just putting on the miles is going to put you vastly ahead of most people, because a lot of people will give up after like 4 or 5 miles, and that's just not enough if you're going to be.
And I'm going to play a
consistent.
little bit of devil's advocate here, because one of the things that's worked for me over the years, and this is, especially in some of these wildlife areas, I've had some of my best days like where people don't think. Like, I'll give you an example. Massive wildlife area, there's a big gate, everyone parks at the gate, everyone takes off down that same road, right? And I'm like, what if I just park like over here, and then I'd go into a completely different area, like from a different angle. I've had some crazy days where I'm only a mile from the gate, but because people aren't going left and going this way up this other sliver, they're all going like, I got to go 16 miles this way. It's like, no, you don't really. Like, my biggest shed I've ever found was like 4 feet off the road.
Yeah, I think a couple of my biggest ones have been really close to roads too.
Yeah.
It's weird how that works.
I think people overlook it. Like me, especially me and you, because we do.
Yeah.
We're like, we're like looking on the map. We're like, look at this. We got to get there. And it's like 10 miles in. Meanwhile, there's a shed like a half mile off the road.
I definitely, what usually happens is those are the ones that, like the people I leave behind will find.
Yes.
They're like, oh, you went all the way over there? There's one right here. I'm like, well, I also found some, but that's cool. They found something happy.
For sure.
I got a quick question. So, I do a lot of like traveling on the road looking at stuff. I usually allot somebody 3 stops for a shed. Like because you'll be driving along, right, and someone will be like, "Oh, shed!" Stop and look, and it's a stick or something. I usually give 3 allotments of that. I don't know. Do you guys do the same thing?
Yeah, you're not getting more than 3. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. I usually, I mean,
I
know
found
what you
very
mean.
few road shed hunting. Have you found very many?
I've found a couple, and I've been, driving and, had buddies out the window find them and stuff like that, but it's few and far between. It's definitely not a consistent thing for me, but I don't get to drive too much on stuff that's necessarily not going to be public.
Exactly.
So you're driving over the top of everything that everyone and their mom has already driven past.
I also feel like a lot of the stuff that we're shed hunting isn't very open to where you're like seeing it right off the freaking
Not
road.
necessarily. It'd have to be right on the road, and that's why usually like it's not just sitting there because there's traffic going through there, and if it is right there, it's usually getting picked up.
And I have gotten lucky. One time I was on the 1,000 road in Weyerhaeuser, and there was an elk shed right in the middle of the road.
Right, yeah, it's happened.
Right place, right time.
Yeah.
Yeah, right place, right
And if it
time,
wasn't
exactly.
you, the next guy would have gotten it.
No,
and that's
for
just
sure.
how it goes. So
For sure, yeah, there's no doubt about that. Well, any other things to add about blacktail that you want to tell the people out there? And I want to hear some of your guys' comments. Make sure you guys are commenting below and let us know like anything that we missed or anything that we should have covered talking about shed hunting for blacktail deer for sure.
I mean, blacktail, it's definitely one of the hardest ones, I would say, as far as, you know, when it comes to hunting, shed hunting, all of it. I feel like the hardest to pattern. They're the most inconsistent when it comes to...
And we're talking Columbia blacktail and also Cascade blacktail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just tend to be, and they live in just the nasty and I think that's the main part that makes the shed hunting hard. And it takes a lot more pounding the ground and a lot more grinding to get the reward, where you can go somewhere where it's a little more open, a little more maybe deer population, and you can get into it a little easier. But
I have a hard time adjusting my eyes to blacktails. Because
yeah.
I go out and look for muley sheds all the time, and I'll go and I'll get just whooped if I go some buddies for blacktails because my eye's been so trained to pick up on. And we'll go get into that in a little bit, but like if I find one, I will or my buddy finds one, I'll take it from him and I'll throw it in the woods.
That's a good trick. I did that when I first
throw
started
it in the
hunting.
woods and I try to pick it up because it's like blacktails are so like chocolatey and just more brown. They blend in with their environment so good.
Yeah,
they're just like
they're
amazing. There's been times where I've thrown it and I'm like, I can't see it. It's just like I'm like I just threw it and I have a hard time difficulty seeing it.
For sure.
So it's just like getting your eyes trained to like look for more. I look for more curvature and stuff like that. Like
someone always told me back in the day, my buddy that's really good at it, he's like, stop looking for the full antler.
Yeah.
Like, stop looking for the full antler because you're going to not find very many if you keep doing that.
Yeah.
Like, you got to start looking, like, find something that works for you, whether it's the curve or whether it's
yeah.
the base or whatever. You know, look for something like that that's like you can key in on.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think that it's a lot of that. It's a lot of looking for the shape. It's a lot of looking for little tines sticking up. I mean, they get a lot of, like, it's either really brown, like you're saying, where it's just so dark that it blends in with the ground wherever it's at. I mean, you could be standing 5 feet away and you're like, what the heck? Done that many a times. You're standing there talking and you're like, oh, there's one right there. But yeah, I mean,
that's happened a lot. I cannot believe that. Like, dude, one time we were shed hunting for elk, and I'm going to tell the story. We know we're not talking about elk. And me and Jordan and Colt and my buddy Luke, we were standing in this spot for 30 minutes. We ate lunch, freaking cooked our lunch. We all get up. And Jordan goes, there's one, huh? And it was like literally right next to us.
Yeah, just torture.
He walks over and grabs it and goes, there's another one. And there was 3 sheds within like 15 feet of us. And we were all just sitting there for like an hour.
I don't know how it always works like that, but even this, like I said, this Saturday I went out and my buddy was probably like 100 yards up the ridge ahead of me, and we're side hilling along, and we're both on trails, and he found like a 4-point buck shed, and he's hollering, and he's like, hey, and I'm glassing up looking at him, and he's like, well, hold on, I'll come down to you, and we'll throw these on our packs. I think I had like an elk shed in my hand or something, and so I stop, and he comes down to me, we blow it up, and I think he then proceeds on the trail I'm walking, like right in front of me as we're walking. He goes about 5 steps and looks, and there's on top of each other this like 320-inch elk set. Just right in the trail I was walking. I was like, you son of a just, hey, hold on one sec. Comes down, shows me his shed, packs up, and then just walks right in front of me, over the edge, like, oh, right here. I'm like, oh, you mean like 5 feet in front of where I was just walking?
Dude.
Awesome. It's like,
it's so hard because your buddy, you know, you're happy for him. You're happy for him, but at the same time, you're like, mother.
Yeah, it's a very love-hate, but it always is nice. I mean, I always tell them, like, it's nice that somebody's getting them. It sucks seeing, you see them go to woods. It's always heartbreaking when there's some nice one that just either is chewed or is so old and molded out that you can't even do anything with it. So I'd definitely rather have it at somebody's house than
for sure
go woods. But yeah,
well,
there's something about somebody coming down and just walking right in front of you. You're like, oh, that was there? Why the stop? I should have just kept walking.
I always say, like, well, we've been hiking along, especially this is more with buddies when you go shed hunting. We'll all pick our lines. We'll usually stick together, but like I always implemented the rules. If you're looking for a shed, you kind of got your area.
Yep.
And if you see one that's on your buddy's line, I always say you give them the opportunity to see it, but as soon as they walk past it and go past it, you can call it and go up there.
Yeah, see, I should implement that rule because my weasel bird buddy snipes me 9 times out of 10.
Because I'm like, I'll give them the opportunity because it's their line. Like, I have
And
my
he
area.
sniped Sean Keller one time too down in the wildlife area.
Yeah, that good.
He'll snipe, dude. He don't care.
Yeah. Oh
He's,
yeah.
if he can run to it before you, he's getting it.
Yeah. Yes, he's a runner. He will sprint to get there.
All right, we're already 36 minutes in, guys, which is freaking crazy. So we got to move on. We got to go quickly touch on mule deer really quick, John, which is more kind of what you do a lot of.
Yeah. I think mule deer is probably a lot easier. I think it's the easiest of sheds.
A lot more open country, I feel like, when we're finding those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is like, it's easiest on a good snow year. On a bad snow year, they're really hard to find.
Yeah.
Because good snow years, and I think we were just talking about this the other day, you get all the snow packed. I mean, when you're in the open country, like, it's a lot. Usually mule deer hang out in the high desert, which is not typically up in the mountain range, you know. Mm-hmm. They're in the same elevation. A lot of them are residents in the area, and they don't winter as far as other species per se. So, but getting the snowpack to pack all the grass, because depending on, what type of grass.
And keep in mind, guys, he's talking Oregon here, and I know there's going to be people that are probably like, what are you talking about? Mule deer winter a ton. He's talking about where he's at.
Yeah,
like,
this is where the area that I'm in.
Yeah.
That I spend most of my time in. So, but yeah, like you'll have, a lot of grasses that are waist high that, you have to walk on sheds to find them. But you get that snowpack down, it's all laid on the ground. A shed will stick out like a sore thumb.
Way easier to find.
So it's like, I spend a lot of time just sitting on points and up higher in elevation, and I'll spend a lot of time glassing, just picking everything apart. And you sit there long enough, you will find them. And what I do is I'll sit there on a high point to where I can get a good panoramic view of everything, and I'll start picking sheds out like we did with you.
Yep.
We'll just sit there and pick out, and we'll say, okay, there's one here. Sit a little longer. Oh, there's one there. You want to sit there longer because I made the mistake when I first did it. I was like, oh, sweet, I found one. Ran down to go get it.
Came back,
and then I'm like, oh my God, there's another one. There was another 100 yards away that I didn't see, and I have to go back down there. So I just try and spend as long as I can gridding an area with my glass.
Yeah, and I feel like with mule deer, I glassed a lot more. I found a lot more sheds glassing with the mule deer than I ever do blacktail. And I find a fair share of glassing with blacktail too, but man, mule deer, we were finding them like 2,000 yards away and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just goes back to the terrain. It's just so much more you can see.
Yeah.
When you're not trapped and confined in the woods of the jungle over here, where you can barely get through, let alone see anything. But yeah.
And we were finding a lot of sheds doing that, but I was getting frustrated, thinking to myself, like, man, how many are hidden in all that sage right there, or all that tall grass, or all that, like.
I found quite a few hangers and shades, or hangers in the sagebrush. Yeah, because I'll be walking on. I've found him like where the deer's stuck his head in the sagebrush trying to get it off, and he stuck it in there, and I'm like, oh, sweet. But it's like, you're looking low. You don't think to look up in the sagebrush, and it's like just something to keep in your mind, like.
One thing I learned from John just from hunting, and I think the same thing rang true with shed hunting, because we found a lot of sheds doing this, but man, they just love to spend a lot of their time in draws. Mm-hmm. So like when we were shed hunting, we focused a lot of time like hiking up into the draw and then hiking down out of it, or we just skip from the top and then glass down into the draws, because like so many of these deer, like especially like I was blown away hunting mule deer, like especially on his ranch, because it's like, dude, these things just, they don't even move until you like walk up on them. Like they're in these little tiny holes of these drainages, and you're like,
and they bounce 100 yards and stop and turn around and look at you.
Yeah, like it was just, well, mine didn't. Mine ran freaking full sprint 260 yards and never stopped.
That was a hell of a shot on
Yeah, he just freaking, we thought he was gonna stop, but he did not. He was like, I'm out of here.
He knew what you were up to.
Yeah. But yeah, so focus on draws, especially when you're mule deer shedding. Like we found a lot of them in draws.
Yeah, and typically, granted, like Marlon said, this is back to my area. Mule deer don't have as much coloration to rub on, which is why blacktail get their chocolatey color from rubbing on the pines and stuff like that, and darker timber. Mule deer usually don't have that darker stuff to rub on, depending on where they're at. But like a lot of it's sage. Sage is real gray. and just you'll get a lighter color, and they're a lot easier to pick out color-wise.
I'm still telling you, dude, one of these days, me and you, I need to drive over, and we need to freaking cement in, like, 10, 15 just rubbing posts.
Yeah.
Like,
It'd probably work over
oh,
there.
it works, dude. Like, I know buddies that do it, like, on land.
Yeah.
And they put
It's
rubbing posts
successful.
on there, and dude, like,
Yeah.
if they don't have a lot of stuff to rub, they need stuff to rub, and they want stuff to rub, and they're looking for it. Like, my buck was so wide, me and John had basically figured out he was rubbing, like, power poles.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was all he could find. And so you could
bet.
see at the base of his antlers, he was getting the red stuff from the power poles. It was really cool.
That's hilarious.
And that's because he has nothing else to rub.
Right.
Yeah, so, like, I think it'd be cool, and I think you'd find sheds next to him, too, because guys, they'd be knocking it off, like, as they're
I
rubbing and
imagine,
stuff.
yeah. Well, that time of year, they're trying to get them off. Most of the time, it's irritating.
Yeah,
For sure.
I actually have a cool story. Have you guys ever seen one shed?
Yeah.
A buck shed. It's pretty rare.
Yeah. I've only
It's
seen
like-
it once, but yeah.
I saw it once. It was one time I was shed hunting. Pop up, this little 3-point comes popping up. He's bouncing away. And I thought I saw him. He had both sides when he first popped up, and then he bounced and boom. One side popped off, and I'm like, what? And I like look at him again. I'm like, did he just drop his shed? And I like look, and he has one side. I was like, no way. No way this just happened. And I walked down in there. I'm like, it has to be in here somewhere. Right there, just the pedicle was warm.
That's crazy.
It was warm,
Yeah.
and I grabbed it, and I'm like, I'm like, I will probably never, ever see this again.
That's
Yeah,
so
very
cool. I have
rare.
a story similar to that. So I was actually in the Susan, like in the crappy stuff, you know. And I'm driving. I wasn't even shed hunting. I was up there like coyote hunting or something. And it was during shed season, you know, the time they should start shedding.
Yeah.
And this 3-point buck like crossed the road like in front of us. And I was like, oh, that was a nice buck. And I stopped and I was like looking. Well, then a deer without its antlers crossed back the other way. And I was like, what? I'm like, that was weird. And so we get out, and sure as heck, he had shed both of his antlers right in that reprod, and we found them both.
Super
He
cool.
had bounced in one way and gone out the other way, and
That's
shedded his
Yeah.
antlers.
Those
the
are
only
definitely
time.
one of those times that you don't forget, though.
No, it's so lucky, dude.
So unique.
It's like once in a lifetime.
It was
That
so
does not
lucky.
happen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very
pretty freaking
seldom.
Cool. Pretty freaking cool. Well, what about elk? Because that's what you were just doing not too long ago, and it was funny because it was like, were you looking for elk sheds? Did you go there targeting elk, or were you looking for deer and then you just happened to find some elk?
Well, I think, like I said, this year, because the snow has been ridiculously different than it usually is, I mean, I was able to hike around at like 3,800 feet, almost 4,000 feet, and there was no snow. So I think it was more, early this time of year, I try not to go in and be right on top of all the deer. I like to keep tabs on them and see what they're doing, see when they're shedding, but you don't necessarily want to go run and walk right where they're at especially if they're all still holding.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I think I kind of went through, we were seeing deer, we were seeing some shed bucks, but just with the snow line being where it was at, it was like, well, let's just go check out up high, and, we got up high and then ended up in somewhere the elk made it to, and I think that it was probably a pocket where,
Were they mostly last year's drops?
yeah, there was a couple, they were all last year's 2 years old, and one set was like 3 years old, but
That's a good area to find.
yeah, it was, but again, I think it's one of those spots where you probably normally wouldn't be able to get to it till like May, normally, most years. Like you'd be snowed out, and then by the time May comes, it's already growing back. Like that transition between not green and so green you can't see anything happens really fast.
It does. Big
So
time.
some of those spots, I was like, well, let's go try up high where we normally can't get to, and then when we can get to it, it's so vegetation grown back that it's a lot harder. It's not nearly the same as when it's just a flat pushed down ground where snow used to be. So when we got up into some of those deeper areas and canyons where normally we couldn't get to, it was just happened to be where some of the elk had been wintering, and obviously
Did you find any fresh buck sheds?
no fresh buck sheds. I think we saw 4 or 5 shed bucks with both sides, but it's always strange, deer, the way it could be, I like to think that the bigger ones are going to shed first, but it's like, then I see ones where I see studs still holding, and then you'll see like the tiniest little pedicles off of bucks where they weren't any bigger than like a fork and horn. You're
For
like,
sure.
I don't even know anything anymore. I don't know. The fork and horn shed, but the big 4-point.
I swear some of the
got it
biggest
dialed.
ones hold on the longest.
Yeah, right. So, some of that stuff's kind of always strange to me how, you think you got it, and then like this year rolled up, and I'm like, there's like 4 tiny bucks that look like they've shed, and there was one that looked like he was a mature, solid pedicled buck. But
I think we're going to be battling that vegetation thing this year.
I would
it's
agree.
It's so warm.
It's already trying to grow back
I know,
green.
it's like the greenest I've ever seen.
Oh, trust me, I'm so annoyed at my
I'm
house
like,
with all
so I'm
the
like,
weeds.
this shed season is going to be terrible if it keeps this up.
Yeah, it's
gonna
gonna
be,
it's
it's
gonna
But
be
keep in mind,
hard.
sometimes we get like a big snow like now.
That's what I
Like
thought
in
we
sports
would.
February.
Portland Sportsman Show.
Yep.
Almost every year, it seems like.
Hopefully not this year.
That's probably what it needs, but yeah, if you don't get that, it's going to be a lot of walking this year. A lot more walking, and I mean, they just kind of can run rampant, when there's
You have
not.
to trip on them when everything grows up,
Yep.
which I've done.
For sure. So, in touch a little bit on elk, because we are running out of time, unfortunately. Like, are you typically finding elk sheds up higher? I know I typically am. Higher elevations when I'm finding the elk sheds, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, there's different spots. I mean, there's some general areas where you can be low. You can be on the river bottoms almost in specific areas. You can get down by the main drainages, and they kind of end up pushed down to the bottom
Congregating there, yep.
Yeah, but if you're looking for some of the bigger, badder quality elk, I've found that a lot of the times they're not with the rest of the elk. They're in their own little bachelor group, and they're going to as far away from people as they can get in their own little safe haven. So when it comes to quality instead of quantity, I think the higher you go, you're going to walk a lot more and probably find a lot less. But when you do find them,
they're going to be big.
They're gonna have a little more weight to them.
Yep.
But that's kind of what I've found as far as that goes.
Yeah. And then, are you talking like, do you look for rosies mainly?
I mean, I definitely do both. I mean, as far as over here, like, I end up St. Helens in general somewhere, some point, there's a lot of Weyerhaeuser up there, but, like I said, a lot of those big river drainages and stuff that come off the mountain, that's the only place they can really go. They start up high, and there's not really a ton of area that allows them to get out of there besides just running down to the bottoms where they're not going to get snowed out too bad. But definitely with the Roosevelts, those are the ones I think that I mostly find a little bit lower than anything.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I just try to focus a lot when I'm looking for those on trails. Like, I just try to get on those trails, and I've even seen with you, it's like you're hiking those really solid, fresh elk trails where you think they may drop.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you can do, and hope you're the first one there. I mean, especially around here, it's
competitive.
It's pretty competitive, and a lot of the general areas aren't necessarily secret as far as that goes. A lot of shed hunters know what you're doing, where you're doing it, and they're doing the same exact thing. So, I mean, for years before I even met Marlon, I swear I probably chased his boot tracks for 5 years. Like, what going on? There's no sheds, just boot tracks, and then one day my buddy's like, I saw Marlon so-and-so, and I was like, that running in front of us for years.
100% we were.
God.
100% we were.
I found that with the Rockies.
And just so you know, too, Zach, we do bleep cuss words, so Wayne's going to have to bleep all your cuss words.
I apologize.
It's all good, though. It's all good.
You're good.
I did find out about coming on here.
I did not tell him.
11 o'clock today. So.
Yeah. I didn't give him the rundown addict, so that's why.
I found with the Rockies too, like back to the snow thing, where I shed hunt in the Rockies, Rocky Mountain elk. There's a lot of wolves, and so they want to steer clear out of the snow because those wolves, when the snow hits, are definitely running their packs around trying to get the elk. And like, if you have elk in the snow, if they're up to their brisket in snow,
can't get away very quick.
It makes them easy pickings.
Yeah,
so
I know.
They try real hard to stay below that snow line. And
I know a place that we need to go that had a big fire like a few years ago, and my buddy hunts over there every year in Oregon. And dude, he was showing me some of the pictures of like when the fire happened, with just all the burned sheds everywhere. And then he went back the next year, and they actually shed hunted after he saw that, and he just absolutely cleaned house. Yeah,
those burns tend to do that. As far as when that stuff regrows, there's every animal around is going to go there.
Yeah, so we got to go check that out. I know right where it's at.
Oh, that would be a good one to go see what's going on.
Yeah, we definitely need to.
Yeah,
we definitely need to for sure. But elk, I think elk are a ton of fun. Elk are so cool because they're just big. You know, it's like you imagine finding a deer antler and then you're like, an elk antler is just that much bigger.
Yeah, even
you know what I
a
mean?
baby elk antler is larger than majority of the deer antlers you're gonna find.
That's
I mean,
what's
this one on
so
the wall
cool
right
about
here
it.
is not some giant, but still, when you find that, you're like, yes.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, that's
Yes.
a cool elk. Yeah.
It's yes until you get a lot and your pack's full and you're like, no. I can have
Yeah.
it somewhere with your pack full.
Yeah, he sent me a picture of his buddy this weekend, and he was just killed over his dying, dude.
You get a lot of elk sheds.
I was dying laughing. Yeah, he's like, I'm so out of shape. I'm like, I can tell. What are you doing back there?
Yeah.
Usually I'm having to tell you to slow down, but
Yeah, I'm gonna be out of shape too, dude.
Me too.
I better start exercising. Dude.
this is one of the first years I've actually tried to like be a little bit better about that. Most of the time I just do whatever.
You work it off during shed season.
Yeah, but this year I was like, I'm actually gonna run. I'm gonna put some miles in and try to be a little bit more on top of it, so I don't have to go get my the first couple times.
Dude, it's like shed season. I always say is like it's just a good like, it's your off season because there's nothing hunting going on
Right.
other than like birds.
Yeah.
But you're not moving around for birds. It's just like for those that aren't into it or anything, and you're a hunter and didn't get into shed hunting, it's a good way to keep on top of your game.
That's what I always tell people. Like,
Like-
even my wife and stuff, I always tell them, like, one of the reasons I love it is because it's exercise that I enjoy. You know what I mean? It's like getting out there and
it
getting your
doesn't
heart
feel
beating.
like it.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like you're exercising, but you are the whole
And
time.
you can drive yourself. Like, I can motivate myself, like,
Oh, yeah.
big time when even if I'm hurting.
Oh well, and there's nothing like when you like you said when you're loaded down and it's like every step is hurting. It feels a lot better knowing that you're loaded down with sheds coming
Yeah,
out of wherever it
exactly.
is. There's just a little extra motivation on your way out.
Oh yeah, I feel a lot better walking out when my pack's full than I do empty. That's
For sure. And I think that's a good way to transition into, like, you know, some of the things that we've learned over the years that makes it a little better for us. And I think the first thing to start with is a good pair of boots.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, a few years ago, I started wearing the Crispies. I love Crispies. You know, obviously, we're not sponsored by them. If you want to sponsor us, Crispies, we'd be happy to take it. But no, like, they've been, in my opinion, I bought John a pair this year
they're
as a
great.
gift.
They are seriously.
Like, I think that they're just top-notch boots. I run the GTX Nevadas, and I just, like, they're literally like a tennis shoe. Like, they're just, you don't
there's
know.
no break-in period.
Almost
either.
no
I threw them
break-in
on.
period.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's like a slipper.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was instantly.
So I wanted to give the pitch on Crispies, but there's a lot of companies out there making really good boots, and it's just important to have a good.
I think nowadays it's hard to almost go wrong. I mean, it's more just like, and even the price is almost very comparable now. Like it used to be, you know, like Canatrex was pretty high up there, and now it seems like they're all relatively about the same price.
There's Marlon saw me wear them, and they're good. They're not so good for like cold weather stuff, but in the spring when you're shed hunting later on, like those Under Armour hovers. They're like
Oh,
a
yeah.
lightweight one. Is what I run. Oh, they're the best.
Super
I run
nice.
them all the time.
Yeah.
You guys like Gators?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you gotta have gaiters.
Yeah.
Definitely gotta have gaiters. That's something I always tell everyone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your boots can only do so much when you're walking through that tall
Yep.
grass and it's wet and stuff. I mean, the Gators will keep you dry. Your boots will keep you dry, but only to a certain extent, especially when you're walking through nothing but wet dew grass and
Yep.
it's up to above your laces. It's going to get your feet wet.
Yep.
Do you want to know what the biggest elevation for me though was in shed hunting? By far, without a shadow of a doubt, was having good binoculars.
Yeah. I mean, that's insanely helpful. I mean, even from I think I had the Vortec like Razor HD Ultra whatever,
As many
Watches.
descriptive names as they can put on there to
I
make
had
you think
those
that they're
and
the
they
best.
were really awesome. They worked really great, and then I ended up getting the Sig.
Yeah,
Zulu.
I was gonna
we
say
preach this and
the
almost
SIG
everything.
auto stabilizing binoculars. I do not care what you do.
Yeah.
You need to save as much money as you can, and you need to buy.
Well, and they're
SIG
affordable compared to
binoculars.
the other ones. Realistically, I mean, you could spend $1,600
Yep.
or you can spend $1,000. And
Well, and I got the new ones, like the 50s or whatever.
Yeah.
Dude, they're unbelievable. Like,
yeah, it's impossible
unreal.
to match. Really, I mean, the fact that you don't really realize it when you're not using it, how much you move until you put those on, and then you're like,
Yeah.
holy crap.
I have
was
people that
shaking
literally,
like a leaf.
our buddy Alex that used to film with us, he texted me like not too long ago and was like, hey, if you ever get any more deals on those binoculars, he's like, I can't even use my old binoculars
It'll
anymore.
ruin you.
It really does. Yeah.
Yeah, you just, So,
Nope.
but good binoculars, and I'm throwing my hat in there for SIG for sure. They're not a sponsor, but those binoculars are ridiculous.
They're hard to beat. I mean, I'm sure now that the product is out there, give it time, everyone will have their their
Self-stabilizing.
version of it, but whichever one you end up getting, those are night and day. They're a game changer for sure. I mean, even for hunting too. I mean,
For sure. There's no doubt about that. Okay, couple quick little, because I got some fun segments here at the end that I definitely wanted to get into, but couple quick ones and just rapid fire kind of answer these. Like, give me your top, and you don't have to elaborate at all.
okay.
Your top 3 mistakes people make when they try to get into shed hunting. Go.
Top 3. Well, one would probably be the too early.
Okay.
Like going in way too early and pushing the deer out of where you're trying to shed hunt.
Okay.
Where else you got?
Going through too fast in an area.
Not covering ground thoroughly.
Yeah, you're walking by stuff.
Yep.
Yeah,
I've had that happen to me
that
one
can
time. I was
definitely
up a canyon that I hunted this year that we hunted. I was shed hunting it, and a buddy texted me and literally said, "You missed one," and you could see literally
Big
my
tracks.
boot prints in his picture, and I'm like, mother. And it's because I was just hauling ass because I saw him, and I'm like, dude, I am not letting him beat me to this area. So I was like ripping, and I went right by just a nice full.
I've done that plenty of times, so I'm sure. Yeah, that's definitely that's up there on the list of mistakes.
Yep.
Ripping right by something and not even realizing it. A third mistake. What do people do? Shed hunting.
Going where they're not.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The third one could be is just literally, and that's
Probably.
again, that's what I did for years.
Yeah.
Going where the deer or the elk are not living.
Yep.
Yeah, well, or going to like your favorite hunting spot and it just doesn't necessarily line
Equate
up
to shed
with
hunting,
shed
yeah.
hunting. Yeah, just because you see them there during your hunting season doesn't mean that's where they're going to be. So that probably is a good tip for anyone that is
Yep.
hunting but hasn't shed hunted. Don't assume that they're going to be right where you see them when you're hunting.
Yep. Okay, we got a few minutes here. We might go a little over on this one, Wayne, but we got to talk about, and if you guys didn't know, Wayne's our awesome guy behind the scenes that's helping us record these podcasts, so we might go a little bit longer than an hour on this one, but I want to talk about this because I think it's kind of a hot button subject, and it has to do with like closures for shed hunting and like keeping things closed for the wintertime and kind of respecting the animal. So like, what's your opinion on that? Do you think it's necessary? Do you think it's idiotic? Like, what's your opinion on keeping these areas closed and not letting people go in there certain times of year and to try to protect the animals?
It's kind of a bittersweet thing. I feel like there's definitely two sides to that sword when it comes to it. Nowadays with social media, I completely understand why they have to do it because, it just takes one person to say something and then there's 900 people showing up at the same place and it's no longer sacred and it's no longer private and the animals are no longer even there because there's so many people. So when it comes to pressure and how fast social media works, I understand now a lot more than I think I used to.
Yeah.
I think back in the day it just seemed like what's the big deal kind of thing, but nowadays I feel like I do respect it and understand it a lot more when it comes to how fast things can happen and there's a lot of people that'll do that. They're like, oh, they found him here, okay, and then they're heading off there the next day to go there, and so
one of the things that frustrates me is I'm like, especially in some of the areas that we locally shed hunt and that we love, it's like they keep these areas closed and there's like, oh, Marlin can't go in there until May 1st. But meanwhile, you got freaking Paul, Jim, Jed, Peter. They're all going in there.
Well, that's always been...
you know what I mean? And then not to mention, you got the game wardens in there ripping around on side-by-sides. You got helicopters flying over them. It's like, so you're telling me that I can't go in there because I'm hurting the wintering animals, but then meanwhile, you're ripping around in there on a gator?
Right, and that's kind of always been my gripe is that it's like if it's supposed to be a keep out, then wouldn't that be a keep out for everyone?
Exactly.
If we're trying not to, I don't know necessarily if they do it around here, but certain places they'll leave out like decoy sheds for people to find in areas they're not. But it's like, so you're able to go in there and not harm any animals while putting down the shed, but then the guy going to get the shed is going to be harming the animals.
Another really bad thing that's happening, and this is nothing against, tribal, and I understand that they have rights, but what we're seeing now in some of these wintering areas that we can't go into is the tribal people from the Indian tribes can just go in there and shoot them.
Yeah.
Like they can go and kill the elk off the wintering grounds. And again, to me, if it's like a sacred wintering area that we're trying to protect the animals, we should be not allowing anyone to go in there.
And it would make the most sense. To stay logically consistent with what you're trying to enforce, it would be that, hey, we're going to keep everyone out of here. And, even if law enforcement at some point had to go in there, it should be mitigated. It shouldn't be a regular thing. Mm-hmm. For years there, your time, I think the Boy Scouts used to get to go in there a month early.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, are we trying to protect them, or are we just letting the Boy Scouts go in a month early?
Yeah.
And that doesn't scare
anything. And I'm an Eagle Scout. Does that mean I get to go in there? Because I'm an Eagle Scout.
So there's definitely, there's some nuance to some of that, and I think that's where the frustration comes in.
Well, one of the things it's like, so like right now in one of the big wildlife areas, there's a bull that's like becoming really famous. He's hanging out at the freaking feeding station. He's got double main beams coming off, and he's enormous.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm just sitting there like, please don't get killed, because someone's, a tribal guy, if he wanted to, could go in there and just smoke that thing.
Right.
And it's a sad state that we live in. It's like these animals are going down there to feed because we have trained them to do that, and then we allow them just to go get slaughtered.
Yeah.
So Marlon's going to go in there and shoot it so no one else can.
Yeah. So I think I think that if it's fair game for him, it should be fair game for me.
Leading up to it.
Yeah.
No, a lot of that stuff frustrates me. And again, I understand that the way. It's a very complex issue when it comes to us, coming in as, white men years and years and years and thousands of years ago and taking these people's land. I understand. It's a hot button issue. But at the same time, what I don't understand is like when laws are so manipulated for certain user groups that it's just crazy to me. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I mean, again, the shed hunting, protecting the animals, all that stuff, and it is kind of where it gets to a point where you're like, it's just it naturally sheds off the head. Like I'm not hurting anything.
No.
There's no animal dying. There's like
we're getting his sheds.
Yeah.
Like where you used to go that I shed hunted a lot starting out. Like I used to be the only person there. Like I would see nobody shed hunting. It was just me and Ron. Mm-hmm. But then over the years, I noticed more and more people. Yeah. And that's like, I get why the rule was implemented.
Yeah, that's what
But like me going in there by myself, the once every couple weeks, wasn't hurting anything. But then after I saw how many people were going in there every single day, I get like the wildlife harassment. Like,
that's what I
mean. Because where
like,
that's at is like, it's a high fence. They can't leave.
Yeah.
Once they're down to that wintering ground, they can't go further down. They're blocked. Right. So the snow's pushed them down to there, and then you have people pushing them around in there. I get it. Yeah. I get why they implemented it.
Yeah. Well, and again, like I said, it's wildfire. People find. I mean, I've seen it where even elk shed a little bit later than deer, but there'll be an early drop, and somebody will go online and it's like they'll post it immediately, and it'll be like super early, like March 1st, and they're like found one, and as soon as they post it, there's hundreds of people going out in the woods looking for the sheds.
Yeah.
And it's like. I guess I get it because, again, that's what happens, It spreads so fast, and it can bring and pull in so many people from so many different areas in a heartbeat now.
Yeah.
It's not, you don't get to send a letter about your sheds now,
Yeah.
Somebody posts a picture and it's for the world to see instantly.
For sure. Yeah, no, we definitely live in a different world, and, we've done this on social media thing for 15 years now, and so we've seen it on the fishing side. Mm-hmm. And, it's a weird line to walk because, I preach it all the time on the fishing side that, like, hey, if you don't use the resource, you lose the resource, right? And, like, it's important for us as shed hunters and people that love it to teach it to other people and to spread it to other people, because I promise you, if you don't have people out there fighting for your rights, we'll lose it.
Well, we're already a minority as hunters, as shed hunters.
Yep.
I mean, we're probably, maybe 3 or 4% of the and everyone's voting, and we're 3 or 4% of whatever's
we're a small percentage.
Whatever's getting voted in is not from us.
So that's why I struggle with it. Like, I don't post a lot of my hunting stuff, and I haven't for years. But I also understand that, like, people want me to, and people message me like, when's Addicted going to do more hunting stuff? And like, and for years I've kind of been like, I'm not.
Right. That's my sacred time.
Over, years of thinking about it and meeting John and all this, it's been like, what, we owe it to the next generation to do it. Like, we really do. And I truly believe that. It's a
balance for sure.
It's a balance.
Saying. Yeah.
You have to be tasteful with it, just like we've done with fishing. Like, we don't name locations, and I don't plan on going hunting.
We're not going to blow anything up.
Yeah. I haven't told John, I'm like, I'm not even going to talk about states.
Right.
If we go hunting Idaho, people aren't going to know we're hunting in Idaho. We might be somewhere else. Figure it out. Figure it out on your own. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think it's important as hunters to protect it, but still promote it.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be tasteful with it, but still advocate for the sport.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And I mean, and I've always been a big believer in that, especially, you know, any friends that, you know, you've never had that are interested, you know, those are always the best ones to take
Yep.
out. And like you said, have their first experience, because nobody does get it until you've done it. And then you're like, this is why they like it.
Exactly.
Once you found that first shed and you're like, oh, this is what they're talking about. This is the feeling. This is
100%.
that excitement.
Yep.
Okay, I got some rapid fire questions for you guys. Again, these are single
boy.
answer questions. So just
Okay.
one answer. You guys can both answer. Best month to hunt sheds.
April.
March.
Okay. Hardest species to find.
Blacktail.
Ooh, I like it. Biggest antler you've found.
Like inch-wise?
Yes. Just guess if you don't know.
92.
Is that deer?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus. I said seven.
Yeah, but it's mule deer.
77 inches.
77. Big blacktail. Okay, public or private land better?
Private.
Definitely private.
Okay.
But yeah,
Skill or luck?
it's a combo.
Luck.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that was an awesome. As you guys know, we could have easily made that. Like, we cut out a ton of segments in that. Like that podcast could have been probably 2 hours long. Because
Yeah.
I love shed hunting. It's probably one of my favorite things to do. And over the next few months, I hope to get out and do it a lot. Like,
Right.
It's one of my favorite things in the world, to be honest. Like, I'm super addicted to it, and I'm super jealous. Like, I always tell Zach, like, I'm like, this time of year, dude, I'm like, please just send me videos, send me pictures, because I have to live vicariously through you because these sportsman shows. But
Yeah, your stuff lines up right.
Yeah.
Heart in the middle of all of it, for sure.
yeah, for sure. But guys, drop some comments. Let us know if you like shed hunting, what your favorite part is. Just, we want you to engage. Thanks again, Zach, for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
We'll probably have him in for some other podcasts for sure, because this guy he's very humble, but he's a very good hunter, very good shed hunter. So I want to definitely get him in here on more things, and you may even see him in some videos. We've been trying to put in some tags together,
Yeah.
and do some hunts together. So
And let us know, too. Like, I think it'd be fun to do a shed hunting video on the hunting channel.
for sure,
Yeah.
Let us know if you want to see that.
yeah. I think it should be like a week-long adventure where we go somewhere that none of us know.
That would
And
be
we
a
just
really
try to
cool,
figure it out.
really cool trip.
Yeah, and we all have Idaho licenses now. Maybe we ought to make a trek to Idaho.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I think so.
Or maybe not, and you won't know.
Exactly. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening, watching, subscribing, commenting, all those things that you do for us. Until next time, we'll see you in the woods.
Maybe not where we're at, though.